Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Ascension podcast. I'm your host, Universe, and I've got some amazing people with me today. The people who run the show, the people who are the face of the show when the players are not playing, the people who give us the insights, and the ones who weave the storylines that you guys love watching and listening to. I've got the analysts, the casters, the broadcast stars with me today, and I'm going to be talking to them about what's been going on in the recent past with Ascension, with all the changes that's happened, and of course, with all the stuff that's going around Revenant. Going there to prepare for the last month as well, who are, of course, our South Asian winners. So, without any further ado, let's move in. Let's talk to our analysts, and we've got some pretty amazing people here. They are. Say hello, everybody. Say hello to Mamba, Fritz, and Spardus. They are, of course, amazing people from our industry who've, I think, watched pretty much every single game so far in VCLSA. Including myself as well. So welcome, guys. How's the day been?
I just woke up a nap, so it's all good.
Yeah, I'm just sleeping the entire day. I just woke up an hour ago.
Played some Valorant. मतलब मैं तो दिन से ही शुरू हो जाता हूँ. I had fun, but excited to be here.
It is the off season right now, sort of. Of course, at the end of champs getting over. So it's been pretty nice to know that this season at least Ascension's coming at the tail end. Champs is not the end of the season. It's Ascension because we get to see that jump up of the tier 2 team to the tier 1 scene. But let's start off with, of course, our region. VCLSA was, quite an amazing journey for a lot of these players, for a lot of these teams. But before it all started, what did you guys think? What was the initial reaction to seeing the season? Like, you saw the teams, you saw the players that were formed, True Rippers, Revenant, OG and all that. What were you guys' first reaction? Let's start off with Spardus.
Well, True Rippers were the strongest team. Like, everybody knew they are the strongest one. They are sticking together. But Revenant, even in the LAN finale, they changed a player. DOS9 and Sultan combining their ways and changing their roles as well. No one thought they would win, but yes, it is the truth. Team formation does not matter how long you are sticking in. If you are good enough, you will eventually win the circuit. And that's how Revenant has won this. Like, it was quite a surprise seeing Revenant lift it up.
All right, Mamba, what did you feel about the season before it all started?
I was actually a lot happier than I was last year because, last year was pretty clear cut that you had an outlier. You had two outliers who were practically dominating the show. This time around, it felt a lot more balanced. And so there's two things we talk about, right? There's the ceiling of a team and a player. There's the baseline of a team and a player. I think the baseline has increased quite a bit. So even on the off days when players are not feeling it, maybe if the match is feeling a little dull, the level of Valorant being played was a lot higher. So when I saw the lineups, when I saw the teams on paper, I think I was very happy because I figured that we'd see some pretty close matches. But then, of course, the way it's all turned out has been a little surprising.
Fair enough. Fritz, you watched it alongside Spardus from the first. You were the first line of viewpoint. What was your reaction when you saw the first teams being formed?
On paper, I thought it was literally a 4-team region. Just 4 teams who will be performing and the rest just trailing behind. And it started from the very first, I'd say, Cup 2. I mean, there was a fight for the 4th and 5th spot, but eventually it was the 4 team that qualified. So from the get-go, I saw these teams on paper and I got the 4 teams. I mean, there were some changes here and there, but it mostly looked like a 4-team region itself.
Right. Well, it did, of course, look like it, but back then, who did you guys think would win? Just give me a name, nothing else. Who did you think would win before? All right, Mamba?
I'd have put my money on MLT, man. Initially.
Okay, initially. Okay.
Anti-Dyne boys.
True Rippers, yeah.
True Rippers. All right, well, I think there's a lot of pain attached to that, which I think is like kind of opening up wounds right now as well for the people who are, of course, rooting for them. But speaking of True Rippers, of course, they were the most consistent team, very clearly out in front. They started off Cup 1 a little slow, of course, at the tail end of Convergence. They, basically shocked the entire region with what they did, taking off map of Gen G, almost beating them as well in that series. But people were expecting a lot from them. Cup 1, finals. Cup 2, finals. Even split 2, they were finals. What did you think of, what was the problem that you guys felt that True Rippers had?
I mean, I'd say True Rippers just lacked composure. even though had big names, they had Helef, they had Deathmaker in their lineup. I was there for the final LAN as well. We saw what was going on. I was clear. I mean, players were just not able to take the pressure. I mean, I pointed it out multiple times. Are you not doing his job properly? Helef, the calls were a bit delayed, I'd say. Even he admitted to it, I think, that the calling was not at par. And these were the problems that were consistent throughout all the three LANs. So I'm not sure how and why were they not able to figure it out. But I think that was the major problem. Skills and everything, they were all on it. Everything was there in place. It was just them not being able to execute their plan on just the final day for some reason.
Mama, do
Yeah.
you think that, after seeing Cup 1 and Cup 2 in the first one, they lost both those finals, but they were very, very good towards. I think Cup 1 they started off slow, yeah, but Cup 1 ending, they came to the finals very strong. Cup 2 was even more stronger. Did you think on the back of that they would end up winning Split 2 and becoming our representatives, or did you think that somebody else might actually take it away again?
So here's the thing, right? With True Rippers, even now when I look back, they should have won, right?
Exactly.
When you look at the record, they should have won. But at the end of the day, when you know it's a big day, and you look at the manner in which they've lost as well. It was 3-0 if I remember it correctly, 13-10, 35, and 13-6, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
First half was pretty close. The other two were practically washouts. So how do you justify that? You can't. It's just the fact that on that given day, True
Yeah.
Rippers were not able to show up, and I don't think it's even a pressure problem because these players are pretty seasoned. It's just I think something snapped. I can't pinpoint what it is, but they would be pretty upset with themselves as well because of the fact that they had a stack line
Of course.
Yeah.
and they had all the firepower, they had all the experience. It's just that Revenant turned out to be a much better team. And let's not forget the two players have been shining for Revenant, right?
Yeah.
Kazakhs.
So the Kazakhs have been signing. Sultan and Dos9 were consistent across all the three maps. I think
Yes.
all the three maps, they were the top two players for the team. And True Rippers did not have an answer for them.
Yeah, I agree that Revenant really, I think their entire team as a whole kind of just, took a very strong stride towards the end of the season. Spardus, what do you think has been, so far, what you've watched, the best and not so best feature of Revenant?
I think it's the same thing. The dually game of them. Like DOS9, he has been one of the star players. And all Revenant does is like keep him in front, get the trace down. They play so aggressive that even True Rippers in the final, we talk about their composure, like they were not able to perform, but it was Revenant cutting them off guard.
Yeah.
Like if you see the map of Sunset in particular, DOS9 was pushing down mid every game, and True Rippers had no clue how to deal with that. It was like Revenant just pushing them down, and True Rippers don't know how to counter it. So Revenant just likes to play on the aim game a lot. It is good in our circuit, but when you talk about Ascension, I think that might be the bigger case.
What do you think is a feature that they really needed to work upon even after winning it?
More utility usage. Like the utility cycle, the consistent cycling of the utility, it is very crucial. Like if you see how skills use utilities, it's very subpar if you compare it to the EME or international circuit. Like they are more on the basis, if DOS9 gets a frag, you get the round. If DOS9 is not able to get the frag, they are stagnant.
Yeah.
They are looking for the opponent to make a mistake to get through. And if there is no mistake from the opponent, Revenant starts to crumble. Happened a lot in the league. In the finals, True Rippers could not handle it. So was the issue. But internationally, they will face these issues a lot.
Well, I guess we're about to find out. But speaking of internationally, they did have their IGL leave mid-season, just a couple of days before the most important part of the competition, when Severin took away and Sultan came in. Did you guys think that that would have been the crumbling point because they lost their IGL, or what were your thoughts when you heard that news?
Initially, yes. I mean, you change your IGL mid-tournament, you change a player mid-tournament, it should have been the reason for them to crumble. But then again, Spardus touched the points were very dually, were very brawly. And Severin, as compared to Sultan in just terms of firepower, is way, way better than what Severin had. So I think that worked in their favor. And then they also they kind of had been developing Sultan. They had been developing DOS9 on various different roles. Even Rossi was a flex player. Para was also a flex player. So they did have the right amount of players. It was just Sultan came in guns blazing through the group stages in Split 2. He was just cracked with firepower, and we saw what he did. and these players just revolving around then different agents. Sometime Omen for DOS9, sometimes you would see him playing Cypher. All the flex that they had finally came into play.
Yeah.
In Split 2, once they had that one duelist is confirmed, Sultan is just going to go in guns blazing. Even though he also now we can see that he also can switch roles. So this team is definitely packed with firepower, but then again, strategies is where I'd like to see them thrive. We did see
I
them hard countering with ISO,
hmm.
but that just one agent won't help you this time around because now ISO is also has been nerfed out. So
Yeah.
even we said it that we just had to use ISO. It's too broken. Good, it won them the tournament, but now it's all on Ascension. So let's see what next fields can bring in.
That actually is a very interesting counterpoint that I wanted to bring up. Yes, they really rely a lot on their firepower. But
Mhm.
Mama, do you think that this one particular aspect of theirs, which was actually called out by a lot of viewers as well, that and even I, brought it out multiple times when I was watching these games. They were very individually talented. Their rounds were individually brought out to victories, but
Yes.
there were games where it worked and there were games where it almost went down to 13-3, 13-2, some 13-3, 13-5 where they lost. Do you think what do you think about that? Are they more individually, is it good for them to sort of play in that kind of field, or do they need a field of more strategy building around that kind of team?
I mean, look at the lineup: DOS9, Sultan, Rossi, Paradox, and Skills. Look at the players. Like usually, you have an outlier. You have a player or two that you might look at and be like, this player can go out and get his frags. This player
Yeah.
can go out and get his entries. When you have five players who can at any point in time switch up, get themselves fired up, get you that opening, it's a double-edged sword because with great firepower comes this responsibility of managing that player as well. Because imagine this, when you know for a fact that you can out aim probably most of the players out there and you feel a little cocky, you feel a little confident.
Hmm.
Sometimes you want to make decisions by yourself. So
Yeah.
I really feel like as long as they have mutual respect for each other and the fabric that holds them together, they can figure that out. I don't think they will have that much of a problem. Sure, it might seem like they're making individual plays because everyone's capable of it. But I
Hmm.
still believe there's a lot more that goes on in the server than the viewers might actually see. So I don't think they're just very realistic. Is just that they are a lot more capable than every other team, and that's the reason why it seems that way. When a team can
Yeah.
just brute force their way through, they don't need to use anything else. So they've not really been tested. And you're
Yeah.
right, the highs are highs, the lows are lows, but I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's for us to see when they go out and face these international teams.
Fair enough. Um, considering star power, of course, we've got SK Rossi, who's he's touched the peak of the world and he's come back in Valorant. And do you think that the team's strategy is centered around him a little bit more because now he's
Not at all.
transitioned to that duelist role in a split two? He did take that step, for back to where he
Yeah.
was. But what do you guys think about that? Does SK Rossi have okay? Let's say not centered around him, but does he have a bigger, part of the puzzle than the remaining players? What do you guys think?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, he's just a part of another five-man squad that is here to play. It's not, nothing is around him. More
Hmm?
importantly, things could be more around DOS9 or maybe Sultan, but not Rossi. I mean, he did play the duelist, but it's not like get Rossi into a place and get him fragging out, and then only then we will be able to win it out. It's
Yeah,
DOS9 as well, Sultan as well. Para has been having some off games, but on the games that he shines, he's just crazy. So it's not
yeah.
around Rossi at all.
Right. I
To
actually
me,
I do agree with that as well. And yeah, Mama, you were saying.
nothing. I don't. I think the only thing that revolves around Rossi is the storyline, right? Because look, he's
Yeah,
a phenomenal
exactly.
player.
Fair.
He's proven himself quite a bit. It's just a perception that makes us believe that it's centered around him. I think every single player on that team is so capable of being that person for the team, right? And to me,
Hmm.
I said this a few days ago when we were talking about this as well. To me, it's not DOS9, not Rossi. To me, it's Paradox. Because look, the other two, the Kazakhs are figuring their way out. They have the firepower. They've been getting the frags. We know Ross. We know skills. It's
Hmm.
Paradox, especially when he's playing support here and there. If he can manage to be the anchor for the team, be the person that brings them together, which he's
Yeah.
capable of. So to me, if there's one player that I would pay a lot more attention to is Paradox because he will allow his team to make other plays.
I agree because he's been so versatile. We saw him playing that deadlock on Lotus. I think in the first two cups he's
Yes.
playing. He switched to I would say I'm not. He switched to in between, I
Vanilla
think.
back.
Yeah, to the normal comp that they had as
Yes.
well, where Dosney was playing the Killjoy. I think he shifted over to Gecko. There was a lot of stuff that Paradox did that allowed his team to be a lot more versatile, which I do agree. But with versatility and good performances that came overall from the team, started coming expectations as well, right? Because in the beginning of the season itself, when they saw this roster being formed, they saw it as the super team, right? There's Rossi, there's Paradox, there's an import from Kazakh who's got, well, not to give credit to the tracker score guy, but he does have a massive tracker score, and you kind of weave all of that in with a seasoned IGL like Severine, and you've got a veteran from the South Asian region like Skills. So you've got a full bunch of it. Now, when all of that changed, you came to Split 2. Do you think that the fact that they won it all is going to give them motivation to do more? Or is it going to be kind of character of stress that might, hinder their performance? What do you guys think?
If it was stress, they would have crumbled in Split 2 itself. I mean, I did not see a bit of stress, especially after winning. When we talked to Revenant, they were like, we know we were able to, we are going to win it out. I mean, there was something in between, according to which Revenant was supposed to lose a map. There was some discussion going on. Skills, even at that time, said, it's fine. You take a map from us. We don't care. We know how you're going to play, and we know we're going to beat you at it. So that is the confidence he showed. I mean, this won't be a stress ball at all for the Revenant guys. This will be just confidence imparting. The only question I had for Revenant was how well Sultan and Dosain are prepared for a LAN that big. They just answered it perfectly. So now just throw anything at them. I think in terms of frags, they should be able to outfrag everyone. Only in frags.
Spardus, I want you to tell me about a little bit. See, this team, while they themselves are a little around the place, they do a little bit of the on the flow kind of motion gameplay. They don't stick to a set strategy. They've got a more fluid motion. Do you think they are okay while they themselves are the ones who do all of that stuff? Do you think they are more adaptable? Do you think they're ready for in-game situations that might come up from other teams? Like, for example, you can read a team like SPG, who come from a region that are very meticulous. They're, very standardized. They know their stuff, to the T. But if they, let's say, face off a team like, JFT, which again is a team that comes from a region OCE that nobody expected them to, do you think they're ready for adaptation in game on the move, or is that something they need to still work upon?
Huge credits to Fields in this regard. They are extremely good at adapting situations. Like Fields, I talked to him behind the stage and he was like, I exactly knew what True Reapers have prepared today. Like, even after the first map, he was like, these are the first strats they use. I exactly know how to counter them. There's nothing new they can bring to my table. And this has been the scene with Revenant a lot. Like, if you see the group stages, DOS9 played controller and a sentinel. Sultan comes in, Sultan goes for the controller, DOS9 sentinel. They're switching around the role every map. Paradox going for a harbor pick. Out of the blue. He doesn't even play harbor in his ranked games. He's picking it in a final game. So that's how versatile they are. And as a team, they rely on Fields a lot. Skills to Field, the communication is just flawless. They're struggling in 2 rounds. They call Fields up for a timeout. And he exactly knew how to fix the team up. So I think the adaptation after the Fields have joined in as a coach has been crazy. They are duelists. They are a raw firepower. But with Fields' composure that he brings around himself and the strategies he gives them inside the game, I think they can manage it out. Keeping in mind, they don't go overly reliant on DOS9. Because DOS9, even Field says that he is one of those players who loves to make a lot of individual plays.
I think
doesn't matter which role he's on. Like even on the Cypher, you'll see him take down the side all by himself.
I think he's kind of, siphoned that, Fields, while he's got a boon in that kind of sense, but I think he's kind of siphoned that off of SK Rossi as well, because he himself tells it so many times. I want to be the guy who does this. I want to be the guy. Even when he's playing Sky, when he's playing Sova, even Rossi wants to go and be the guy. You know what? Maybe I can just take jiggle and just get back. That's what Rossi is. So I feel like that's kind of flowing across the team. But if he, of course, Fields can hold it off, nothing like it. Let's come into a little bit about what exactly is going to be happening at Jakarta now. We've spoken about Revenant. We've spoken about what they can do, what they will do. Let's talk about what they will do. They're going to have a very, I would say, difficult time in Jakarta, in the sense that it's very emotionally connected to the fact that South Asia now expects a lot from them. We've not done as much in the last 3-4 years. We expect Revenant this time at least to, chalo, even if we didn't win it, we should at least give a solid fight to show that, you know what, we're taking the step in the right direction. Maybe next Ascension, something crazy could happen, right? How important do you think this Ascension is for South Asia? Mamba, you can start off.
I think every Ascension is pretty important. And to think, or at least to claim that, hey, we have to perform better than the last year, I think it's a little weird to me because, look, it's not the same representative. It's not the same team. The other teams are not the same. So there's no baseline to compare it to, right?
Yeah.
So every Ascension, every year is a new experience, and all you hope for is the best possible outcome. So you don't look at the bigger picture. You just take one match at a time and see and try and figure out, hey, is this working for us or not? Because you don't get a lot of chances in the first place. Like you have upper bracket, you have lower bracket and whatnot. But the one thing I would say is bring back the learnings, and I think they have. So you compare it to the last year as well. We saw the level of competition rise in the domestic league. I think at least for South Asia, we are heading in the right direction. But there's no real way to compare whether or not we'll do better than the last year, right? Unless you're just looking at the finish that we get.
Do you think? Okay, let me put it this way. Yeah. How good do you think the chances are this year, given that you've seen at least a bunch of these other region representatives? How good do you think the chances are this year to, let's say, if not win it, to get a top 4? How good do you think they are? Fritz?
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You can tell first.
Both of you can go for it.
No, so I think we absolutely have a chance. Won't be easy for sure, but I'm pretty optimistic.
Right, Fritz?
3 teams that we have to beat: Boom, Disguise, and I'd say Full Sense. SPG should be simple considering everybody does their job properly. Yeah. But other than that, if we're able to beat these 3 teams, we're really on for the spot as well. Because I've seen the other teams as well play. Naos will be a good challenge. But then again, I have faith in DOS9 and Sultan. A little bit too much, I'd say. But if we do beat these 3 teams in any fashion, or they just get eliminated anyhow, I think we really have a shot at it. Otherwise, we might just also snowball out 6th or 7th position. It's all about these 3 teams.
Well, I guess we will find out because Full Sense, of course, and even SPG, for a matter of fact, with the way that they got out of their region, the way they won it, completely unbeaten, by the way.
OG was also unbeaten last year, man.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's not just put it like that.
Yeah, fair enough. But let's not underplay the Korean year that we've seen. Right?
That's just because I say SPG is a very systematic team. It's in their region. It's in their blood, and I for sure know they won't expect plays which DOS9 and Sultan are. Those are not plays which regular players make.
Yeah,
40 seconds into the round, you're not peeking A-main without a piece of util. These guys will. And they will get punished for it as well in certain situations. It's just how many times can you get away with stuff like that?
Yeah.
And SPG, after a point of time, they'll crumble. You see one of their games, they went, I think, 2-1 against one of the teams and had an OT game. You see how they crumble in certain situations. And I'd say Revenant can create those situations very simply. So that's why I don't think SPG will be a big problem for us. But the other 3 teams, because they also have similar kind of firepower, plus the IGL, the backbone is also very strong. That's why I'd say that these teams might struggle a little bit.
There is one thing about these teams, and is that the names that you put out, DSG, SPG, and even Boom. They've got at least SPG and DSG, based on what I've seen, recently from their work. They're slightly bit more on the aggressive front, even though they're systematic. DSG are outright aggressive. SPG have got a very systematic approach, but they've got multiple comps for multiple maps, and I've seen that as well, which have been really good considering that they bring out new stuff towards the end. Spardus, if you're looking at some of these top teams, right? Who do you think will be the biggest problem for Revenant once they go forward when they go forward in the bracket?
Full Sense and Nios, like both the teams, they have a very different kind of playstyle. Like they like to take the duels a lot. They like to map control, mid rounding. They like to just cut down the pace.
Yeah,
they are very versatile in how they execute their set plans. While Revenant, they thrive on their aggressive opponents. If the opponent is team like trying to make some plays, Revenant is happy to take those plays, read about them, adapt accordingly. But if a team is just fluctuating a lot between 3 to 5 rounds, Revenant might get confused like what to do next. Because again, in our circuit, the majority of the game plans relies through DOS9 and Sultan. The initial 20 to 20 seconds all depends on them. So that might be a case.
Fair enough. Mamba, do you think that they should be counter-stratting these teams, or do you think they should be focusing on their plan more than worrying about what the other team's going to do?
I wouldn't say counter strat, but obviously prepare for them. See, here's the thing, right? There's two ways you can approach a game.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, because we've been talking about brute forcing your way through, the enemy team and whatnot. If you feel like that's your strength, go for it. Then there's teams like Paper X, because no matter what strat you have, if you get hit by a brick in your face, right? There's not a lot of strategy that can save you. And at the end of the day, it is an FPS game, right? It is a tactical shooter. Shooting is the most important bit. So we can sit here as analysts and talk big game about, oh my god, you can do this, these comps are insane, play triple initiator, double controller, doesn't matter what, right? At the end of the day, play by their strengths, but also know what the tendencies of the opposition are, right? If you have a brief idea of, for example, this is what they tend to do. If you hear a piece of utility, for example, you hear a Gecko Flash go out in B main at 45 seconds on the round, then you know this is the execute that they're doing, right? So you look out for little markers and little cues, trying to understand what they are doing and try and stay a step ahead of them. But I wouldn't say necessarily try and counter strike, because I think that would be against the grain for Revenant.
All right, fair enough. Considering that you guys have seen you've named a bunch of these teams, which other teams apart from Revenant are you really looking forward to watching at Ascension?
Who goes first?
JFT? JFT. Yeah. I've not seen them play a lot. Like, they have a very different structure, different team. I don't know how they have made it till here, but JFT is like one of those squads. I would like to see how are they going to perform, since they're already in the quarterfinal phase. So will be a good team to look out for.
I'd say DSG, because another one of those teams which does not have an org will make it difficult for Riot to tell them if they do qualify for Ascension or not after the last year shenanigans that happened. I'd like to see DSG maybe win it out.
Right, Mamba?
Boom, obviously. I've seen Zezbu for the last 9 years or so. I've been seeing him compete in different ways and forms. So I'm really looking forward to see him. And of course, Riddle. And both these teams, right, are for individual reasons. Seoldam is somebody who I used to love watching when Valorant had just released, right? The OG Korean Jet. So to me, I look, as teams, I think all of these teams will put up a good show. But I'm looking out for individual players and not just teams.
All right. Last thing before we go off, I did want to ask you guys about the format, which has been slightly, on the up and down end as well. Where it's Mamba. We spoke about this earlier as well, but the format's been formulated in a way where it takes shape from the previous season's finishings, right? So the first 2 games that we have are from the 4 regions that finished in the bottom 4 of last season's Ascension, and the rest are basically placed as such. And when DSG have their own bracket, because of course they come from the same region as the winners of the previous season, and of course even Scars, who were the second in last season, now have given Riddle that one little bracket. What do you guys feel about the format? Just let me hear it.
I'll go last.
Okay, Spardus, bolo bhai.
Okay, so I think I don't even care like how the format is lined up. If you have to play an extra match, if you are good enough, you will make it through. Play one more game, does not matter. It's like a weaker team, maybe a stronger team, maybe. But at the end, if you are aiming for the Pacific slot, you have to beat every team down. So format does not really matter to me a lot in more sense.
Yeah, I'd say I hate double elimination. I don't think it just does justice to the team that have made it till here. Last year was far better. Put them in groups, let them play at least 3-4 games, and then out of the rankings we decide. Because one bad day puts you into lower brackets, and then suddenly you have to face one of the opponents which were trying to maybe avoid or something like that. So I'm not a big fan of double bracket eliminations, at least in small tournaments like these, where you've been playing for like 6 months just to come out and get eliminated with 2 games to prove yourself. I'm not a big fan of the format either way. And then again, you put in extra games for some of the teams. It might not hamper them, but give a fresh start, It should not be based off of last year's performance. So yeah, that's my opinion on this particular format we have.
Mamba?
I think I agree with both of them. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think you're good enough, you really don't care. Of course, there's a psychological element where you're like, this is one of the strongest teams. But then shouldn't bother you in an ideal world. But let's be honest, it does bother everyone
Not an
to
ideal
a certain
world.
degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd love to see groups more than just double LM. But at the end of the day, is there really a way apart from what they're doing right now? Is there a better way? Because there's no way to compare teams across regions, right? So it's almost as if imagine you're comparing South Asia to Korea, for example, right? Teams are different. The level of gameplay is different. The skill ceiling is different. So there's no alternative to this, at least right now, the way I see it. So just take it to the chin, move on, play it, and then we'll figure it out as we go.
Well, it is what it is, unfortunately, or fortunately. But the Revenant have gotten probably a difficult path ahead of them. They have to, give it their best. Whether they win or lose, I'm pretty sure we're going to be here supporting them throughout. So that's the one good thing. But before we end off, the final question that I have for you guys, of course, is that South Asia as a region has grown in the last 3 years, but internationally, we're still looking to make our mark. The fans are hoping for something big this year, and they're hoping that somehow Revenant produces a top 4 performance, right? If you guys had to say anything to the fans on behalf of Revenant or just in general, what would you say to them?
Just believe
Who
in the
goes
team.
first?
Believe in the team. Like I'm going first, like every scenario. So, but yeah, just believe in the team. They are capable of doing it. They have done it in our circuit, and this team has the firepower, has a good coach, has a tendency to execute those plans. We have never had a team that is this good in the firepower and the set plays. So I think India's finest team is currently in the ascension stage, and this year has to be our best.
Fair enough. Fritz?
Yeah, same words. I mean, crouch, crouch, crouch. If people know what I mean, is what I'll
Yeah.
say to all the Revenant fans out there. They will definitely crouch their way through the entire tournament. I believe in them. 3 teams is what we aim to defeat. But yeah, just go ahead and win it all. That's it.
Mamba?
I don't know how honest should I be, but all I'll say is, look, we've seen how passionate the fans, and when I say passion, I say it in quotes, right? Look, just be nice to them, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to go out there and lose, right? So if you're upset about that, understandable. But if you're going to go out there and tweet, then might as well try and defeat them the next season, and then make your way to Ascension. As long as you can't do that, be nice to them.
Fair enough. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a bit of a cold. It's a cold room, but hopefully the winnings of Revenant will be pretty hot and warm in Jakarta, which of course is going to be a humid region. And we're going to look out for everything that they do. We're going to support them. So that's it for today. We're going to see you all very soon. There's another episode coming, by the way, that I'm going to be doing with the winners themselves. The Revenant will be here next week. So until then, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next one. Mamba, Fritz, and Spardus, thank you so much for your insights. And I'll see you guys on the desk, hopefully. Yeah.
See them.
All right.
See them. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.